Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I am Fran Albrecht, and I am have the privilege of serving as the chair of the Montana University System Board of Regents. It is wonderful to see you all here this morning. We have an exciting day ahead of us, but one of the privileges that we have in serving on the Board of Regents is the opportunity to visit all of our campuses across the state. The history that comes before us really shows that we are standing on the shoulders of giants, those who have come before us. And I am incredibly grateful that at this point in time, we all have the opportunity to carry the tradition, the mission forward in all that we do in service to the state of Montana, to our students. And all of you who are here are doing that every day, and we thank you for that. As I mentioned, when we have our meetings across the state of Montana, every other year we have the opportunity to visit the Montana State University campus, where we are hosted beautifully there. And now this year we are hosted at the University of Montana by our President Bodner, and we are grateful for your incredible hospitality. And we know that there is so much effort that goes into preparing a meeting like this. And so for all of you who are out there who have done so much work to diligently prepare and make sure that we all feel welcome, we extend our gratitude for this fantastic hospitality. I just want to mention a couple of things. I have the privilege of now being a mom of a student who is here at the University of Montana, who is a freshman, and it brings me great joy that I hear from her about the excitement and the passion that she has that is being brought to her by the faculty, that she is learning from and blossoming because of their passion, their desire to really help her understand what her gifts are and to grow in that arena. And to listen to her excitement brings me great joy. And you don't know that until you become that parent of that student, even when you've walked that journey yourself. So I just want to mention that because, again, that's part of everything that we do every day, and to see that with what's going on here at the University of Montana and across these campuses, I sit in front of you with a grateful heart, and for your service, your leadership, and your commitment to those students across Montana. When we think about the University of Montana, and I talk about standing on the shoulders of giants, it's interesting to think about this campus. Before Montana was even a state, Congress dedicated 46,000 acres in the Montana Territory for the creation of a university. And 8 years later, when Montana was admitted to the Union and the Montana legislature began considering where the state's permanent capital and state university would be located, Missoula leaders made an agreement with the standing capital of Helena that Montana would stay out of the bidding for the new capital and would support Helena over its leading competitor, Anaconda. I know you were Opportunity, but if in turn Helena would support the state university being in Missoula, Missoula won the legislative vote for the new university in February of 1893. At the third Montana Legislative Assembly, and by June 1898, the cornerstone for University Hall was laid, and Missoula became the university city. For 125 years, this campus has contributed greatly to our community, the state, and this country. Political figures like Jeanette Rankin, Mike Mansfield, musicians like Jeff Ament of Pearl Jam, and actors like J.K. Simmons, and even our own Commissioner of Higher Education have attended here, just to name a few. Life-changing research has been born here. Teachers, nurses, and other public servants have come here. Ideas for philanthropy have been inspired here, and students of every background imaginable have walked these halls. And I want to, again, thank you, President Bodner, for hosting us. The energy in this town is notable, and that is something that you have brought to this town and this campus, and it's contagious. And I look forward to your presentation this morning shortly. And on our agenda this morning, we will begin with President Bodner, followed by Commissioner Christian, who will be giving us an update on the system-wide level. And Superintendent of Public Instruction, welcome, Elsie Arnson, and Siri Smiley, welcome, from the Governor's Office, will be providing comments on education at a state level as well. We have another fantastic panel, What's Up Missoula, with business leaders and dear friends of mine from various industry sectors who will be sharing their experience of partnering with the university and areas where we can improve as a campus and as a system. And this afternoon, we'll hear from our two-year and community college committee and the Budget, Admin, and Finance Committee. And then before we recess this evening, we will be taking public comment. And tomorrow, we will begin bright and early with our community leader breakfast, followed by committee reports and 2 student appeals. And of course, at that time, we will begin taking public comment before we adjourn this meeting. And before I hand it over, I want to give a huge shout out to our campuses for their efforts with First Generation College Student Day, which was held last week. And it was so incredibly fun to follow along and hear some of the incredible things that our first generation students are doing to celebrate. And I want to give a huge congratulations also to Regent Casey Lozar on his recent appointment as the Assistant Vice President of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. Congratulations. And I certainly don't want to steal the thunder of Commissioner Christian, but certainly today is a day to celebrate as we look behind us with the vote of support that we all received in the confidence that Montanans have in higher education with the affirmative vote of the 6 mil levy. And lastly, before I hand it over to you, President Bodner, I want you to know that you've hit a milestone that you don't even know about. Yesterday, I was introduced to a student introduced me to her cat, her new rescued adopted cat. And I said, oh, he's very sweet. What's his name? And she said, Seth. It was a kitty cat, a little black one. And I know that, that the banter will continue, but I will tell you that, of course, I've heard that, I'm well aware that there is a very big game on Saturday, and I hope you will all join me in rooting on the Loyola Rams against the Fairfield Eagles for the Class B championship game. And with that, I would like to turn it over to President Seth Bodner. Thank you so much again for your hospitality.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and the entire Board of Regents. I want to echo Chair Albrecht's comments of thanks as we start, and we'll thank again at the end, but it takes a lot of work to put together a meeting to host these important discussions, and I want to thank our entire facilities team, our dining team, the team in my office for your work. It is a labor of love, but a significant one at that. So I greatly appreciate everyone's work in bringing this meeting together. And I want to thank Chair Albrecht and thank all of the regents, as well as Mr. Commissioner, the OCHI staff, Superintendent Arnson, Siri on behalf of the Governor, and all of our MUS partners for being here this morning. We are excited to welcome you here to the University of Montana, and we're grateful for your partnership. I greatly appreciate Chair Albrecht's comments on the wonderful history of this institution. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for all of your partnership and your teamwork in an exciting revitalization that is currently underway here at the University of Montana. Over the next 2 days, you'll see tangible examples of this. You will see examples of the world-class education that our students are receiving today, but you'll also see examples of ways that we're innovating, ways we're working to enhance the education that our students are receiving to best prepare them for the complex, the dynamic world that they're going to enter. You'll see projects that are having a tremendous impact on our community today, and you'll hear about our efforts to work even more closely with our community leaders to be one Missoula, one university. You'll see examples of UM's cutting-edge research, and you'll also see new ways that we're fostering innovation and creativity throughout our entire community. In short, I think you'll see evidence of why I so strongly believe that this university is exactly the type of university the world needs today. And for the University of Montana, like all of our MUS partners, students are at the heart of everything we do. They're the lifeblood of our university system. They're the reason we're here. And it's through our students and the impact that they have that we best serve our community, our state, and this nation. And so as we begin this Board of Regents meeting, I want to share a video that highlights, through the eyes of 3 of our students, why the work of the Montana University system, the work of everyone in this room, it was so important.
My name is Michael Ogine. I'm guard on the University of Montana basketball team, business marketing major.
My Indian name is Sacred Star Woman Who Sits by the Moon. I'm Assiniboine Sioux.
My name is Logan Pritchard. I am a dance major focusing in choreography and performance.
I was born in Browning, Montana.
I'm from Los Angeles, California.
I'm like a 4th generation Montanan.
My parents came over from Nigeria in the 90s, so I'm a first generation American.
One grandpa worked in a mill, one grandpa worked on the railroad also. Cousins and uncles, all like truck drivers, railroad guys.
Both my mother and my grandmother were survivors of domestic violence, and I like to think that I'm the first generation outside of that, and so I try to do things to combat that legacy of violence.
Growing up, academics was really important for all of us. It was important that we, focus on our studies. Basketball and sports in general was kind of something that was, a little bit of an afterthought.
I remember thinking in the 8th grade, being like, how can I change things? Why does everybody think about Native Americans so negatively?
Dance just fit, and it felt good in my body. I felt like I had a voice in it. I felt like I was expanding my mind, expanding the field, and it was really exciting.
There's the one side where, people don't really see. It's just where you're kind of by yourself, tuned in, studying the game, perfecting the game, working on your craft, when no one's watching you.
I thought about being a teacher, and I thought about being a police officer, and I thought about continuing social work. And for some reason, I decided on the law, and I thought that the law was a way I could make long-term sustaining change.
I needed a chance to harness my craft and choreograph often, and lots of dance schools don't give you that.
That's what it's about, getting to, a university like this, making connections, networking with people, learning as much as you can. University of Montana, people are just, very friendly, people are eager to learn, people are eager to see you do well. And, I just learned that that's kind of who I want to align myself with, those are the kind of people I want to be around.
I have received scholarships every year I've been at the university. I truly can't express how much it has added to not only my academic life, but my personal life. Having a moment to breathe and having a moment to be at home and settle has been huge.
I owe so much to those who had faith in me to continue and complete my education.
I just want to say thank you, to all the people that help myself, help others, help my peers, get this education, get opportunity to be on a campus like this.
It feels really, really good to be in a field where I know that I can make a difference. Every single day I am just so grateful that I love what I do and I found something that makes me feel whole and that I can affect real change.
Well, thank you. At University of Montana, we begin all of our meetings with what we call a UM Minute, where we talk about something that's happened over the last couple of days, something usually a positive, often a positive, that we talk about to ground us, to get us focused on why we're here, what is most important. And so this is really our MUS Minute, a reminder as we begin this meeting of the important work of this university system, the important work that impacts not just individual lives, but provides a critical public good. That is why we were here. And I couldn't be more proud to be part of this system. And so I am excited to welcome all of you here today. You are sitting today on a historic campus, but also a campus of tremendous quality. And I want to share with you just a few of the reasons that this university system has to be proud of this university. You're on a campus where recently named MacArthur Fellow Lisa Parks graduated. A MacArthur Fellowship, aka the Genius Grant, is given to 25 people in the entire world based on their exceptional creativity that inspires us all. Lisa's an alum from here, and she joined us back on campus last week. She's currently a professor at MIT, but still committed to spending time with our students in this institution. You're on a campus where our School of Law ranks 7th nationally in judicial clerkships and 16th nationally in federal judicial clerkships, topping schools like NYU and Columbia. You're on a campus where our College of Business is not just one of the best in the nation, but the #1 in the entire Big Sky Conference. A college from which our graduates, our accounting grads, pass the CPA exam at a higher rate than any institution, any public institution west of the Mississippi. You're on a campus where the #1 wildlife biology program in all of North America is impacting science and management all over the world, and where our biology majors are accepted into medical school at rates significantly higher than the national average. And you're also on a campus where just across the river you can see our beautiful Missoula College, where they developed many of the first apprentice programs in the state of Montana. You're also on a campus where we have thriving literary publications. The Oval, published by our creative writing students, and Camus, published by our environmental studies students, as well as the campus where this year's winner of the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, Andrew Sean Greer, pictured here, completed his MFA. And you're on a campus where UM's American Indian Business Leaders chapter, the first chapter in the entire nation, recently earned first place in the business competition earlier this year at the National Able Leadership Conference. So this is just some of what your University of Montana is doing. And I could share a lot more. If we had a few hours, I'd be happy to. But one thing's been clear to me in the 10 months since I've joined this institution, and that is that I'm fortunate and proud to be part of a university of exceptional quality and a team that is wholly committed to our students. But I tell you what has struck me most since joining this university is not just that we excel in only a few areas. To be clear, our strength isn't just in the sciences or the arts and humanities or the professional schools. Our power is in the and. And what I mean by this is that the beauty of a UM education is that our students become not just capable experts in a focused area, but also agile thinkers across domains and over their entire careers. I've seen the importance of this firsthand. For the past 2 decades, I've lived in today's world of change and uncertainty, the private sector and the military. I've seen and dealt with the kind of disruption, the types of challenges that our students will face. And that's why I argue that we, and every university for that matter, have a responsibility to deliberately and persistently adapt our institution to ensure that our students are job ready on day one, but prepared for what we know is an unpredictable world. And so here at the University of Montana, we are on a mission to revitalize and proclaim loudly the importance of a UM education. An education that's good for our students and necessary for the world. Because I tell you, given today's rapid pace of technological change, the need for the critical thinkers, the innovators, the problem solvers that UM so effectively shapes is greater than it has ever been. And that's why we're so excited. Not just about our past, but about what the future holds for this great university and our students. And that's why I'm so optimistic that UM is indeed on the rise. Now, while I'm unabashedly optimistic, those of you who know me know that that's the case, I'm aware we have a great deal of work to do. We're a smaller institution than we were 7 years ago. And as you know, we've taken difficult and very real steps to align our budget and our instructional staffing levels to a smaller student body. We've done this as a community. It's been a difficult, long process, but we will emerge stronger. And at UM, we understand that having an exciting vision for our university is not enough. Many of you have heard me share a quote attributed to Thomas Edison, that vision without execution is hallucination. And so we as a community have identified 5 priorities for action. These are areas around which we will focus our deliberate efforts to realize this vision. I'm going to recap them each briefly for you. Number 1 is to place student success at the center of everything we do. So this means that in all of our decisions, all of our actions, we'll put our students first. And we're working tirelessly to enhance student persistence and success through graduation and beyond. As I announced back in March, we've integrated student and academic affairs to place a deliberate and holistic focus on the student experience. And we're in the final stages of a search for a vice provost for student success to lead this newly formed area. That vice provost will sit on the cabinet, ensuring that we all put our student success first. Number 2 is to drive excellence in innovation in teaching, research, and learning. You know, this sits at the core of UM. And we owe it to ourselves, to our students, and the public to ensure that our curriculum and our pedagogy continue to evolve and adapt to best prepare our students. And that our newly announced communities of excellence begin to come to life as interdisciplinary learning and research communities. Number 3 is to embody the principle of mission first, people always. You know, our beautiful campus is made up of buildings and sidewalks and grass and beautiful Mount Sentinel. But ultimately, the University of Montana is people. And for this institution to reach its full potential, so must our people. And so we are making a dedicated and concerted effort to not just have an inclusive and supportive campus, but an organization in which all of our people can reach their full potential. Number 4 is to partner with place. Our students in this entire community benefit tremendously from the ways in which we partner with the city of Missoula and the state of Montana. We're in the business of shaping informed, engaged, productive citizens. And so it's our duty to create as many opportunities as possible for our faculty, for our staff, for our students, and for our community partners to collaborate, to co-plan, to have a shared impact. And then finally, to proudly tell the UM story. As I've said in the past, we're an institution the world needs to know about. Not just to bring new students here, but also to ensure that people understand the incredible work that happens here every day, on this campus and on all of our MUS campuses, and the transformative impact on our students and on our community. Regent Albrecht mentioned, I was very pleased and honored that the 6 mil levy passed with such a high percent. And I think it's a good indication of the recognition of the value that our university system provides and in the importance of sharing that. You know, so we announced another restructure back in March to bring together our enrollment and communications, and I'm really excited about what our team is doing there already. Now, for each of these 5 priorities, they're not just words on a screen. We have cross-functional teams. Those teams are identifying key objectives, indicators, and actions that will keep us rowing in the same direction. I realize change doesn't happen overnight, but we're making steady, tangible, measurable progress. And so I'm excited to share with you a few signs of this exciting revitalization that's going on at the University of Montana. Summer enrollment. Summer enrollment at the University of Montana was up 17% this year. And that was through the result of a deliberate and intense effort. And importantly, 463 students finished their degrees over the summer, saving them from having to come back for another semester. And while maybe not quite as exciting, but certainly important, some of you may recall that earlier this year we launched something called Project Simplification to look at all of our operations and try to build greater efficiencies. And we're already seeing significant progress. To cite a few examples, our recent sustainability and efficiency measures have resulted in close to $300,000 in annual savings that were realized through our budget. And earlier this year, we entered into an agreement with a local business to run our printing services on campus. Our printing services in previous years had generated significant losses for the university. And in just the first 2 months of operating under this new structure, our printing services has generated positive revenue for this university while delivering the same or even enhanced levels of service. And finally, we're making a big effort to streamline our internal processes. Our team's plan to revamp our travel procedures is estimated to generate about $100,000 in annual savings and save our employees 4,700 hours of time. Similarly, proposed changes to our recruitment and our hiring processes will free up an estimated 1,300 hours of our employees' time and about $40,000 of savings. Now, I want to be clear, this isn't just about dollars and cents. This is about making sure that we can dedicate as much of our budget, as many of our resources as possible to our core activities of teaching, research, and student development. That's why we're focused here. At the same time, the more exciting aspects of, I think, what we're doing is looking at how we're reshaping our education and reshaping our student experience. Our core curriculum, our faculty, together with the leadership of Chair Matt Seminoff here at the table, they're working together to reimagine our core curriculum so that all students, regardless of discipline, realize the benefits of a broad-based interdisciplinary education that prepares them to think critically, to communicate effectively, to be those problem solvers, those innovators that we need over the course of their lifetime. We're revamping and refreshing our techniques around teaching and learning. We're looking to innovate while honoring existing examples of excellence. We're excited to help steward, for example, the efforts of our proposed World Languages and Cultures Department to enhance their course offerings and amplify their teaching efforts. And students at UM will soon have more opportunities to receive an education online and during the summer. We're expanding both of these programs so that anybody can receive an education from our university at a time that is convenient for them. And this isn't just about convenience. In a state where a large proportion of our population lives more than 60 miles from an institution of higher education, it is our duty and our responsibility to offer an education to people who may be juggling their desire, their need for higher education with the responsibilities of their life that keep them in a place. Similarly, our communities of excellence that we articulated earlier this year, we're gaining momentum. We're beginning to breathe life into those communities. And you'll hear later today an example from UMHM, we call our Health and Medicine Initiative, which is an expression of our Health and Human Development Community of Excellence. And finally, I believe that at the heart of what makes a UM education so unique is its potential to unleash the entrepreneurship, the design, the innovation spirit of all of our students. And so we'll be showing you ways in which we're working to move some of our most innovative and collaborative efforts that currently exist on the edges, literally and metaphorically, of our campus right here to the heart of UM. And a great example of that is our Innovation Factory, which many of you will see later today on the tour. This is an immediate and exciting expression of our focus on entrepreneurship and design and innovation. It's a physical space downstairs, one floor below us here in the UC, where we're going to foster innovative problem solving and design capabilities of not just our campus, but also our community. We'll have there our Broader Impacts Group, our Blackstone Launchpad, faculty from our art and media arts programs. They're going to work collaboratively with community partners to design this Innovation Factories as a space where our community will actively problem solve, create, innovate, design, learn, and apply. These are all the characteristics of a great liberal arts education and the characteristics that we want to amplify in all of our students. And more importantly, Innovation Factory, as we're affectionately calling it, it represents connective tissue between our campus and our community, between businesses and nonprofits, between students and community needs, between research and entrepreneurship, and all for the good of our communities. So, what you'll see here. We're hoping to show you evidence of the impact of this university today, the impact of this university over time, and the exciting revitalization that's going on right now. In this room, you'll see student artwork all around. I encourage you to read about these students. You can see descriptions of their stories and why they've chosen UM. Out in the foyer, you'll see student service stories. You'll see stories of research impact, stories of service, in a video station where you can plug in and view documentaries about our students and their stories. There will also be 2 tours, as I mentioned. One tour will go through the buildings. Another tour will go through our UC, our University Center, where you sit here on the 3rd floor right now. And you'll see our creative and entrepreneurial students' new collaboration space in the ASUM suite downstairs. You'll see that innovation factor beginning to take shape. You'll see work by our Flathead Lake Biological Station and by our Spectrum team that reaches across this entire state. And you'll see our thriving and reimagined research and teaching initiatives that are occurring all across campus. And the exciting part of this innovation is that it has a ripple effect. What we're doing with our students, what we're doing with our research impacts and strengthens our efforts across this entire state. And I want to close just by reiterating what is at the heart of all of these efforts, what is at the heart of our Montana University system, and that's service. The University of Montana and our Montana University system exists to serve through education, through research, through community engagement. We serve as an act of hopeful transformation in our students, in the world, and frankly in ourselves. Some of you may be aware that a few weeks ago in this room, we had about 500 people. 500 people, students, staff, faculty, community members. Up there we have pictured our First Security Bank team from in town. We came together on a Friday afternoon, a rainy Friday afternoon, and we packed 50,000 meals for our community to serve people, to serve children, to serve those who suffer from malnourishment, who suffer from hunger. It was, as you can see, we all got to wear some really good-looking hats. We had good races. We had in this room a positive energy unlike I've felt in a very, very long time. And I think we had that energy because we struck at the heart of what is unique about our university and about our community. And that's a commitment to service. And this is just one example. And over the past year, more than 2,800 students contributed over 147,000 hours of service to our community. Economic impact of over $3.5 million. Tremendous impact on our community. That's what this university system is about. That is why I'm so proud to be here. And it is in this spirit of service and long-term impact that we wanted to provide each of our regents with a gift. A gift to thank you for your service, but a gift that will serve many others for years to come. You each have at your place a certificate, recognizing that we've planted a fruit tree in your honor. These trees are planted at our UM dining garden and also at the UM Peas Farm. The fruit from the trees on campus will be used to feed our students. The fruit from the trees at the Peas Farm will feed our community. These peach trees will have an anticipated life of about 25 years, about 50 pounds of fruit per tree per year. The Bitterroot apple trees have about an 80-year lifespan, and the output is about 70 pounds per tree per year. And we thought this is an appropriate thank you for your work, for your service on behalf of the Montana University system, work that will undoubtedly bear fruit for many generations to come. So I want to thank you. This is your university. And I will tell you, I am unabashedly optimistic because of the evidence that I see of our revitalization and because of the impact that is all around us. We're so excited that you're here, and we are so grateful for your leadership and for your partnership in this critically important work. So thank you. Madam Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, President Bodner, and thank you for that incredibly meaningful and thoughtful gift. Amy, if I could have you do the roll call. Here.
Here.
Thank you. Regent Sheedy.
Here.
Regent Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. Regent Rogers.
Here.
Thank you. Regent Nice.
I'm here.
Regent Tuss.
Here.
Here.
Good morning.
Thank you, Amy. At this part of the agenda, I would ask if everyone has had the chance to approve the minutes from our September 12th and 13th board meeting. And if so, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion made by Regent Nicetoon. Any discussion or corrections from members of the board? Campuses? Any public comment? Seeing no further comment, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. At this moment, I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Christian for the system report. Commissioner?
Madam Chair, thank you. Thanks for all of you for taking time out of your schedule and being here today and participating in the important work of this governing board for the Montana University system. President Bodner, thank you for your presentation. Much in the spirit of what we saw in Billings, and much of what we talked about with faculty at our breakfast this morning is how do we all put students first, how do we get to student success. The video, very meaningful. You can see the efforts of all of our incredible faculty and staff across this system bearing fruit there in forms of students finding success at our institutions. So we thank you for that and thank all of our institutions for the work that you're doing on behalf of making our students successful. I want to start my comments with an acknowledgement of the 6 mil levy and a tremendous thank you to the voters of Montana that overwhelmingly approved that initiative, providing 20-some plus $million a year to the Montana University system. Those are cornerstone funds for us that will not only be important in this biennium, but for the next 10 years to come. A very impressive vote in many ways. The reversed a declining trend of support over the last 40 years. It's the highest point total in 40 years. It is the most votes ever cast for the 6 mil ever. The only higher percentage was very similar, 64% in 1988 and 67% in 1978. So we're approaching some of the highest support marks that that 6 mil levy has seen, and that comes, I think, in two forms. One, recognition by the voters of the importance of higher education, what higher education means to workforce development, to students, to families, and to the economy across Montana. But two, it comes at the hands of a tremendous effort that was put forth on behalf of the 6 mil from a number of individuals, and way too many to mention, but what early polls suggest is that people that understood 6 mil were very supportive of 6 mil. but not many people knew what it meant or what it was about or what it accomplished. And so a tremendous effort led by the committee. Obviously, the student involvement was unbelievable. 20-some thousand plus doors knocked by student and student association. 8,000 signs were put out, 140,000 voter contacts, 100 and some letters to the editor that got published, and almost 3.5 million social media contacts that was organized and put forth by those efforts. But none of that happens on its own. There was lots of participants in this. I mentioned students, businesses, alumni, foundations, other people that came to the call, but none to the extent of the Montana Federation of Public Employees. And I just can't say enough what a tremendous debt of gratitude that we owe to them for their leadership. They not only put in the lion's share of the funds required to move this effort forward, but they helped organize, they dedicated staff, they dedicated time. They were incredible partners in this. I know I saw Marco Farrow here before. Marco, thank you. Tammy Harris, thank you. Always dangerous to name names, but the two Erics were instrumental in pushing the support. Eric Fever, Eric Burke as well. And so I think we all owe a tremendous amount of gratitude to MFPE, and I'd like you all to join me in a round of applause for. So moving along, I would like to recognize our tribal partner here today representing the tribal colleges, Sandra Boham. I saw come in a little earlier. Thank you for being here. Such an important part for us to have the tribal colleges represented in a voice. And Sandra comes from the Salish Kootenai College, Regent Lozar, and my old stomping grounds up there in the Flathead, and it's a pleasure to have you here today. It's also worth noting that her vice president of SKC, Dan Derglo, has also been incredibly instrumental in the work that has happened with the AMA Council and the efforts that have been moved forward there. So our partnership continues to be strong. SKC has been involved on a number of grants and research projects scattered throughout the Montana University system. And so we truly value those partnerships. So thank you for being here. Getting into a little bit of the meat of what I think we need to talk about, I certainly want to acknowledge and would be remiss to simply pass by a fairly significant moment in time with the Clariac fine that was levied against the University of Montana, but certainly captures the attention of my office and all of us as a system. For those of you that don't recall, Clariac is a federal required statistic reporting for criminal activity on each campus. I want to reiterate how serious that we take that, the importance that it plays within our system and our obligation to the federal government, one, but certainly to families that are looking at choosing our institutions and making a wise choice in that. We are working with the Department of Education to work our way through the fine that was levied. There are a number of nuances to how things get reported, and we are trying to do our best to add clarity to that, but also trying to do our best to bring clarity to the system for the future. It certainly is not mistakes or admissions that I think are in isolation, and it's incredibly important, I believe, and a role of my office to see that as a system, we take this as serious as it deserves, and we try to do the best that we can to figure out where we can do a better job. We've recently put out a directive from my office that asks each campus to assess where they're at in terms of clearly reporting the operations, the processes, and the procedures that they use to produce those reports. We are actively asking and pushing to see an implementation of one software that would be used system-wide so that we know there's consistency across the system, not only at our 2 flagships, but at all of our campuses. And we will ask in the future that our internal audit staffs look at Clery compliance and the work of the software to make certain that we are all reporting and we're reporting in a consistent fashion. And I think from a board's perspective, you need to know that we take this seriously. We're as committed to accurate reporting as we possibly could be. And from a system level, we are committed to see that every institution in the MUS is doing it and doing it right and doing it on time. And so we will make progress there. I guess switching gears a little bit, a couple other things to brief you on. I attended the Western Interstate Compact for Higher Education, WICHE meeting this last week in Boulder, Colorado. We've been searching for a new president there. I'm pleased to announce that an internal candidate, Demi Mikolau, was announced as our next president. She has 16 years experience with WICHE, and I think is ready to take the helm. If you ever wonder, so many people sort of hear it out there as an acronym, but what does it do? It did help last year alone 40-some thousand students save $365 million through interstate exchanges across the West. And that in itself is pretty impressive. But it also provides states like Montana an opportunity to have professional school available in terms of medical, dental, veterinary, and other disciplines across the region, things that we would be unable to provide for resident students on our own for the sake of resources. It works across the region to find best practices. There's 2 Lumina and Gates Foundation initiatives working forward that I think are very important to Montana on how we can better serve Native American populations and Alaskan Native populations, Hawaiian Pacific. A lot of good work going on there, and I'm very pleased that we have a president in place that can move us on to the next generation. As all of you know and heard, our own Chancellor Blackketter announced his retirement a few weeks ago, and I'm pleased to report to this board that the process to replace Chancellor Blackketter has begun. We've asked Deputy Commissioner Tessman to oversee that. They met with a search consultant. AGB has been hired. The same consultants that we worked with on the UM President search here will be helping us at Montana Tech. They have in the last couple of weeks done over 11 listening sessions in the community and have seated a committee that will work toward attracting a pool of vetting candidates and ultimately making a recommendation for Chancellor Blackhetter's replacement. Chancellor Blackketter, I would just take a moment to thank you for your almost 9 years service in the Montana University system, and this won't be your last word, obviously serving until the end of June, but we appreciate the decision you've made, and we'll work diligently to see if we can't help you get to retirement. Yeah, I know. And President Stearns could certainly tell you I've failed at helping presidents get to retire in the past, so I will pledge to do better in your behalf. Thank you for your service. Quick update on the Helena leadership. As you know, Dr. Lacey is serving as our interim dean there. We held, Dr. Tessman and I, a number of listening sessions on campus in the last month, and we, with the help of the faculty leadership there, have done some surveys trying to decide what our next move is there, quite honestly. Do we start a search? Do we make an appointment? Do we continue in an interim status? What's the best thing for the campus moving forward? As many of you recall, we attempted a search a year ago that did not end in a successful hire, and so We've got great leadership in place with Dr. Lacey, and we're working with the campus to see what the next step should be. And I think I'm hopeful by the end of this semester, right before Christmas, we'll have some answers as to where we think, as a collective we, engaging that campus community is the best thing moving forward. Then I guess I want to move into what ultimately will be handed off to Tyler and the superintendent. But as you guys know, we worked diligently with the superintendent and the Office of Public Instruction over the summer around this topic of testing, of ACT, of a statewide test, trying to figure out what would best serve students, but also what meets the needs of this board, as you've laid out in priorities in terms of how do we advance the mission and vision of the MUS, and how do we better improve student access and student success, student affordability. And so we believe wholeheartedly that one of those tools is for us to better engage with K-12, to work to attract a broader swath of students. And, you know, through my sometimes inability to articulate very clearly, I think there was some confusion around my comments in Billings. And I want to be completely clear. We have no interest in trying to shape where those 35% of Montana students go in Montana. This isn't about a funnel or directing students or anything else. And it came up again this morning, so I think it's worth mentioning. Our goal is, what about the 100%? We seem to focus on what the 35% of Montana residents that we're currently capturing are going to do. I want us to start thinking about what's the 65 going to do. And I quite honestly do not care where they go to school. We'd like to see them attend a Montana University System institution, but frankly, my first statement still stands. I don't care where they go to school. I know the best thing for them, their families, the economy, and the state is for them to go to school somewhere in some discipline, to attain some post-secondary education, whatever that may be. If that's in-state, out-of-state, at a private institution, that's what Montana needs. That's what our workforce shortage demands. That's what our economy demands. We need to engage a larger swath of students to go and go somewhere. Where is not our interest? Our interest, and I think where it got confused, our interest is making available, making students understand what is available, all of the options that are in front of them, helping that 65% that currently aren't engaging in Montana understand what's available. Not trying to shape where they're going, trying to make sure they understand that there is a wide breadth of educational opportunities that await them after high school. And we think the best way to do that is working with the superintendent and with OPI to engage those students in school, in high school, maybe starting in the 8th grade, whether it's through pre-ACT, the ACT, or just better engagement with the counselors to help us understand what's available in Montana for our students. And I think if we do that, there's more than enough students. And some of this sort of argument about where the FTE is going to go from a sort of dollars and cents can turn into where should students go and how do they find success and how do we engage 100% of Montana students. So at least they know what the opportunities are and they can make those informed decisions on their own as to what suits them best. But we worked through the summer and we believe we are making tremendous progress. Superintendent and I both put signatures on a document with the ACT that I believe will serve us for a long time to come. I know that Tyler's going to walk us through this a bit, and the superintendent's going to make some comments, but I just want to say publicly, thank you for your support. Thank you for an open ear. You know, it sounds easy when we talk about it at this table, but then you kind of bump into federal privacy laws and state privacy laws and all kinds of obstacles in the contractual relationship with the testing bodies and who gets the data and where does it go. And it turns out it was quite a project, and we sat across the table many times. But Superintendent, thank you for your work.
I just want to give you the Montana Ready sticker. All right. Right here, which does seal the partnership.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank
And
you.
we're just beginning.
We
right?
are just beginning, yep,
Thank you.
absolutely. Mr. Trevor, maybe you can walk us through kind of where we think we can go now that we have some of this in place and what our next steps are.
Mr. Commissioner, members of the board, good morning, and Superintendent. I have a quick presentation for you here on an update, essentially on, I guess, looking at it from the university college side of things. We would call it the Resident Student Access Initiative, but that doesn't preclude the fact that what I'm really here to talk to you about is the partnership with OPI at the end of the presentation. I'm just sort of connecting back to our stated strategic initiatives for the year, and as a promise I made in September, that we would update this board often on the progress of that initiative, and so that's why I'm couching it within this. Just as a reminder, the goal statement there I have up on the board: develop a unified approach to resident student recruitment, admissions, financial aid, all with a single goal of increasing the percentage of Montana high school graduates attending the MUS. And as the commissioner said, I think we would even kick that up one notch higher, attending colleges or universities anywhere in the United States. And that's really been our focus as we've worked with the superintendent on some of the ACT projects. So I didn't know any other way to start this, but then let's talk about the data first. I guess that's my instinct. I just want to take a second to ensure everyone's on the same page. We're using the same set of data. We're articulating the problem in the same manner with the tools and the best data that we have at hand. And so you've seen this slide from me many times. It gets updated annually. It has not been updated since the last time you've seen this. Unfortunately, the flow of data doesn't necessarily always connect with Board of Regents meetings. But the trend would not change. And that the big points here are: in 2008, we had 1,000 more public high school graduates than we do now. And we hope to regain those graduates. This is a natural phenomenon on the number of births in the United States. This is a trend across the United States, not just in Montana. But we're looking forward down the pipe, not trying to wish our life away here, but by the year 2024 or 25, we'll be back to where we were in 2008. So that's a challenge before us. And when you have year over year of fewer high school graduates, clearly we're talking about a 4-year pipe at a minimum here in higher education. And so that creates a compounding problem for us just in the number of available 18-year-olds who come out of college and come out of high school and go immediately to college. And so I want to start with that metric right there. It's called the college going rate, or college continuation rate. This is the rate at which high school graduates matriculate into college in the fall semester immediately following high school graduation from public and private high schools in the state of Montana. And I emphasize that because as I work toward talking more and more about the partnership with OPI, I'm going to neck that down to just public, because that's the data set that we have and share in common with OPI. But right now, this is the national metric, and anytime you're with a national metric like this, unless you're going to compute this for every state, you're at the mercy of the timing of that metric. And I'm unable to find, through the consistent source of using iPads, someone who has calculated this for us anytime sooner than 2014. 2016 would be the most current data. It's reported every other year by individual campuses to the federal government. So with this national comparison, we see Montana at 61% of our high school graduates from public and private institutions going on to college immediately following high school graduation. The national average here is 63, so we don't look that bad. In fact, in the West, we look like we're doing all right. And you've heard me say that quite a bit. This is the first page of our strategic plan, which says we want to ensure that we provide access to higher education for all. Now, I want to update this. This mouse is really tricky here. So, we have, as I mentioned, 2016 data, and when we pull that data from iPads just for Montana, our college continuation rate drops from what is 61% down to something that is closer to 56%. So now, as you heard the commissioner talk, we're wondering about the other 40% who didn't go immediately on to college. And we know some of those take a semester off, a year off. Some enter the workforce. Some never go. I can't tell you at this moment a whole lot about that 40%. But what I can do is take a step back and talk to you about the 60%, which is now actually in 2016 the 56%. And you can see how it is split out, and you can see how it's split out over time, the last 10 years from public and private. So this is going to be a little bit different when you see the data at the end of the presentation. I'm just preparing you for those differences. The 36% go on to the MUS, and then you see the community colleges, the tribal colleges, the private colleges, in-state, I should say in-state right there after private colleges, and then out of state. And then that leaves us with about 44% right now that are unaccounted for. And I'm going to talk about partnerships with OPI, but one of the longest standing partnerships we've had with OPI is a data sharing agreement, and we do track students who don't go to college immediately, and they take some time off and come back in a year. So I do have something to say a little bit about that 44%, but right now, in terms of this data set, I can't tell you much more about that. Okay, enough said on that topic. So I'm going to now move away from college continuation rate. That's why we compare ourselves nationally. And then I'm going to start with the first data source I always go to. That's the MUS data warehouse, and just taking a look at first-time freshmen that are residents over time. It doesn't matter if you just graduated 3 months ago or 3 years ago or 30 years ago. You're a first-time freshman if you never went to college before and you're a resident. That's what I'm looking at here. And you can see, I apologize for this, the mouse is really tricky, that our numbers in the last 10 years have basically dropped at almost the same numerical level as the decline in the high school graduates. We've gone from 5,300 first-time freshmen entering in fall 2009 to now what is less than 4,300. And you can see it by campus, and I mean, we could spend probably 15 minutes just looking at the level of detail here by campus, but I think it's incumbent upon us to know this data, and for all the folks sitting behind me to recognize this data as well if we're going to solve this problem. So now I move on to what I alluded to, the data partnership with OPI and the computing the MUS capture rate of public high school graduates. These data that you see on the screen right here come from OPI, and they come from a data sharing agreement that we have. We provide OPI with the data necessary to identify who's enrolled in higher ed, and they provide the data of the recent graduates. So this is the best we get in tracking our graduates in the state onto MUS campuses. And I showed you this in September. This shows us at 35%. It's actually like 34.8, a drop from a few years ago at 37%. We are actively putting the data together, and we're like days away from having it done for fall 2018. And so we're anxiously waiting to see what that's going to be. I wouldn't imagine it's going to be much different than that 35%, but time will tell. So then you do this same data set, but split out by our campuses. And as I did this, I noted that in fall 2014, we hit our high mark at 37.4. And so I measure a difference here from fall 2014 to fall 2017 at this point in time, and that's a 3 percentage point drop. That's the alarming part of this, is that there's not just fewer number of high school graduates, but there's a smaller percentage of them going on to the MUS. It's a long way to go, I know, to frame that problem for you again, but I felt necessary that we all get on that same data track and then monitor the progress. So, the OCHI and OPI, or the OPI and OCHI partnership, you know, and I think about, okay, what are the primary points here? And the very first one, and it's not something that sounds like a new shocker to anybody, but I think the key part here is that we have strengthened the partnership to deliver the ACT test for free to all 11th graders. We understand and have seen each other's point of view on the need for this test, and have been at the table for numerous meetings, and I personally have appreciated that education, and I look forward to continuing and learning more about the incredible need for the ACT test to be our 11th grade assessment for OPI, and the strong commitment they have to that, and obviously we know the importance of the ACT test for a college entrance exam, and I believe we now have both of those in place, and that allows us to expand the use of ACT information to help ensure that Montana students are able to access college anywhere. And that was the commissioner's primary point, is that he made it clear that we want Montanans to access higher education in the same fashion as any other student in any other state. And I believe in this partnership, that's exactly how it's going to happen. And as we mentioned, we're creating avenues, exploring avenues, I would say, for pre-ACT test. It's an option. We have plans. It might not look like it does right now, 5 years from now, but it's something that we're exploring. And in the name of also exploring, we're finding new ways are just sort of crystallizing when you start to think about the ACT test as one prong in what students need and parents need when they're sophomores and juniors in high school, in terms of the key pieces of information they need for admissions to college, entrance into dual enrollment, and financial aid. And I'm going to back up in a moment and talk about a college access portal, but I want to give the superintendent an opportunity maybe to either rebut some of the things I've said or jokingly.
Jokingly, yes, thank you.
don't. Or just hand the ball to you.
You're very kind. Thank you very much. Chair, Commissioner, board members, thank you very much. It has been a very enriching path that the agency has gone on, understanding that we are K-12, but I've sat at your table and I'll share more remarks in my presentation, how I feel it's very important that we are a P20 look. We offer opportunities. That O and OCHI, the O and OPI is opportunity. And we have to make sure that that bridge between your world, my world, is one. It's a world for students. So a lot of discussion with that. There is a hurdle that we have, and we can go into that a little bit, but I do believe that everyone in Montana understands that data is not a four-letter word, that data is a tool, which is a four-letter word, to get us somewhere where we can be. The gracious partnership that is offered to the Gear Up monies to offer the ACT as a statewide assessment to all students free is something that not a lot of states in the United States replicate. So Montana is unique, and I want that uniqueness to be strengthened as being the rock star in our country. So this partnership is unique. So we're blazing a trail here. We are excited, cautious, but very, very excited. Continued conversations regarding what we can do for students. My predecessor had Graduation Matters. What an opportunity to say what is important. This, though, is the action behind that, to say that that opportunity of student engagement can happen possibly middle school, definitely with the pre-ACT in 10th grade, and of course with the statewide exam in ACT. Excited. A lot of things that we have in the future planned, and I'm excited. I'm welcoming this. What a parent can learn from rebranding what a statewide test could be, this is part of that. So I thank you for allowing me to be part of that discussion and being patient, as we all were throughout this process. And I think we have it all on the same page. It's about students. Doesn't matter where they sit in our classrooms in Montana or where they could go in any classroom in the United States or in Montana. But I'm very blessed and honored. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this conversation. As we continue, more updates will occur. Thank you.
So just a few more comments here. As I mentioned, the ACT test, the notion, thinking about the information that we need to communicate to parents and students about the value of the test, the use of the information. We want to be ultra transparent on how the data will be used and how it will benefit students. I mean, there's so much benefit to a free ACT test. It's not just about the fact that you're not paying to sit for the test. There is so much other avenues of utility. And so in that vein of knowing that we have a captive audience with what will be sophomores with the pre-ACT test eventually, and definitely juniors right now, and an obligation to tell them about the use of the data, we have to create an avenue to get to those students. We see it as a college access portal that joins up with 3 other key border regions initiatives or strategies that relate to the Resident Student Access Initiative. And obviously ACT being the first prong of that stool, but then dual enrollment, the 1-2 free, the classes that are available. We're just scratching the tip of the iceberg on how to deliver this to Montanans in a packaged way where they can see all the courses laid out in front of them. They can access online classes as well as those that are in their high school and spell it out for them in one place. And the first 2 classes for free. Now the ACT test for free. And that makes you start to think about how can you use that information to make college admissions, allow students to jump on a light rail to get to the university system rather than have to go to each individual campus and apply differently. Why not apply to the MUS? And while that's a longer term goal in sight, what we have coming up for us this spring would just merely be, hey, here's the links to the campuses and the admissions, but with the planning around the concept of actually increasing the number of resident students, huge opportunities there. And finally, financial aid. We can do a better job of communicating to sophomores and juniors early on in high school what are the available avenues for that student or the parents looking at their child and where they should attend, and the funds that they have, the opportunities from state-funded aid combined with our campus institutional aid. This is a key element, and I don't believe that we have it packaged well enough to articulate succinctly. This combined, these 4 topics, we believe, and this is a very rudimentary example of what that portal will look like. We're actively moving on this right now to deliver it to all 11th graders in a very basic form for this spring in partnership with OPI. Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation.
Fantastic work. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Trevor. You still have the floor, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, thank you. I believe we have a question from Regent Lozar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. Question for you, Tyler. The data that we're talking about, I'm sure there's data that comes out of sort of the competencies for each of the students that take the test. But is there, what is some of the other data, or what might be some other data that we're looking at sort of capturing through the test, and how might we look at using that?
Yeah. Madam Chair, Regent Lozar, that's been a topic for us, and we do have an avenue in agreement with OPI to ask what are called non-cognitive questions, some non-cognitive questions. They're more along the lines of college preparatory questions, like interests and majors, the type of institution you're looking for. Angela McLean knows this like the back of her hand, and I could ask her to give it like a whole bunch of detail, but that is the level of questions that students will complete now. So we have better opportunities to link them with their profiles, their overall interests. There is a strengthened set of data that we anticipate you accessing and using following this year's test.
Regent Sheehy.
Tyler, I'm a big fan of the one application. Will that make it more difficult for our campuses to anticipate their enrollment if there's only one application?
Madam Chair, Regent Sheehy, there's a lot of work that we've got to do before we actually, we can dream of one application right now, but the level of engagement that we need from the campuses on this and the types of issues this may present, I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface on it yet.
States do that around the country. That exists. I don't know if I'm on. Hello? I don't know. Dead? States have had success with that around the country, and I think we can get there. Again, it's not to create confusion at a campus level. It's certainly not to try to direct where students go, where they apply. This is just, I think, that step in what's available to students. And let's help make it easy for them to find a path to post-secondary education after completing a quality K-12 education in this state, and where they want to go from there. I think we can do that. But we've got a ton of work to do. I applaud Tyler and crew for the steps that they've made. I certainly acknowledge superintendent, but this first step, even just getting the architecture kind of figured out, is huge for us. I think we can figure out where we'll go, and I assure you and all the campuses will have plenty of input from across the system, so we make things better and we avoid as many unintended consequences as we can along the way. And you know, that's our commitment, but we know that this approach will help serve students. And so how do we marry those things together, I think will be an important part. Regent Nystuen.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Superintendent Arnson, could you describe some of the processes you're going to be using in all the hundreds of high schools across Montana to prepare students to take the ACT? It isn't just simply, okay, clear your desk, we're going to take the ACT test now and hope like heck that we get great results. There's got to be a lot of preparatory work. What are you doing to prepare for the high school students for this test as we move forward?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, are we there? Great. Thank you very much, Board Chair, and thank you, Regent. We administer the ACT and have done so since 2015. We do have a, is it not working? It is now? Okay, now I can hear it. Thank you. We have been administering the ACT since 2015 with great success, but we can always do better. That's one of the mottos that I hold true, that we can always do better. Within that, we have test coordinators. We also were given, within the new federal law that came out that supersedes the No Child Left Behind, that we have to do test monitoring. There needs to be test security to validate exactly what that test means. So there is a lot of work that is behind the scenes in all of our 200-plus high schools that will be administering this. It is used for accountability. So in the discussion with the accountability, not just accountability for our state, but for the federal government. So it has been a dialogue between our systems as well as the federal government. and our large schools and our very small high schools. But there's a lot that I'm sure you will be learning, and there's a lot in our partnership. I know we have already begun that within the confines of the vendor of ACT. They're going to be helping Montana put this partnership together. But it is up to us in K-12 to administer the ACT, and there is a very strong commitment to make sure that this is accessible, that teachers understand that it isn't taking away from instruction, but that it is a pathway for acknowledgement of what is really occurring in learning in high school.
Thank you. Oh, Regent Lozar.
I just have more of a comment or acknowledgement. You know, I think the board talks at least a few times a meeting about urgency and about moving efforts quickly. You know, this particular item came up in September. We gave a head nod from the board that this was the top priority. We're here at the next meeting, seeing significant progress and partnership that's happening. So wanted to thank all those that are involved. And in my 3 years on the board, the conversation in Billings and the feedback from the community, I probably had the most text messages and emails regarding this topic. And I wanted to thank the commissioner for taking the time this morning to really lay out exactly what you were intending on discussing in Billings, and at the fact that this is not a tracking system that we're talking about. This is not taking recruiting away from campuses. This is, in fact, us being public servants and really thinking about that the 44% of Montana's high school students that just aren't getting are accessing higher education. And I know we can do a better job, and I think this is the path. So thanks for clarifying with your remarks.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I am excited about this, and I think between the 1, 2, 3, what we can do to not only help students access, in a broader sector of students access higher education, but we can help them be successful. That mantra of access to success is what we're all about, and I think this is a step in the right direction, and we'll engage the campuses along the way, and we'll continue to work with our partners at OPI to see that this will be a route where hopefully we can attract more students in Montana. It's what Montana needs, it's what we need, it's what those students need, and so we'll continue to make progress there. Madam Chair, moving on to our next item, I believe we're going to give you a brief. Maybe we're not going to. You know, everybody used to wait with great anticipation for our various enrollment reports. The truth is, a couple years back, we put the enrollment reports online, and you can see them every day of your life, where they are in real time, and so I think you know where we're at. Tyler, you have anything you want to?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner, you hit it right on the head. This is sort of the self-service enrollment report. At the end of every fiscal year, we do the big-time enrollment. It's halfway through the first semester, so it's preliminary data. It's not final till the end of the semester. It combines with spring and summer to make our full annual picture. You can use the dashboard, and we're trying to kind of enable everyone, not just the board, public, media, anyone that wants to can use this tool, and I believe it's been widely used already, so I would say
Thank you. Perfect.
We're good.
The campus reports are also posted, and encourage everyone to look through those. There is some time and effort that goes into those, and they actually have a wide array of very useful and informative information for you guys to get in touch with what's going on at each campus. In case anyone is wondering where all the PBS people went, they're somewhere, some booth behind all these little robot-looking deals sitting around the room. It is still being streamed live, and I guess it's 2018. But that's PBS. We thank them for being here remotely, and that's an important part. It's actually amazing how many people do watch this meeting, my mother-in-law included, which I think is kind of weird, but it happens. And there's several thousand logged on at any given time, and so we welcome that opportunity to show the work of this board to a broader audience, and thank them for continuing to stream those live for us. Last item, just quickly, if there are introductions that need to be made, I know Dr. Tessman has one in our own OCHI group, and we'll look for others. Without a mic, are you?
Thank you, Commissioner, members of the board. We hear a lot about putting students first and our collective emphasis on student success. And one of the great joys in joining any new team is the chance to look at that team and adjust emphasis as necessary. I'm really proud to introduce Christine Miller as our new student success specialist in the Commissioner's office. Christine will be reaching out to as many campuses as possible in the very near future to get a great read on campus climate and to really make sure that the Commissioner's office is taking into account the student perspective as we move forward. So Christine, welcome. Thank you.
President Cruzado, did I see you nodding your head? Please.
Yes. Mr. Commissioner.
I know. I could not hear anybody. Now, hello. Okay, Mr. Commissioner and members of the board, I'm delighted to introduce Ariel Donahue as our first Senior Diversity and Inclusion Officer. Let me just provide a little bit of a background. We devoted the entire academic year of 2017 to 2018 to have a series of very important campus-wide conversations about diversity and inclusion. Out of that exercise, we decided to memorialize what we had learned and what we envisioned for the future in a diversity and inclusion framework document. The most important and relevant recommendation that the campus acknowledged in that document is that we needed to have a dedicated individual who can wake up every day thinking about the importance of diversity and inclusion at Montana State University. So we conducted a national search, and as I always like to say, cream rose to the top once more, and I'm delighted to introduce Ariel. She has been the director of the Diversity and Inclusion Student Commons at Montana State University, managing the office's various programs, events, and initiatives. She's originally from New York State. Ariel earned her bachelor's degree from the College of New Jersey and earned a master's in adult and higher education from Montana State University. She has worked at MSU since 2009, previously having worked in the Office of Community Involvement and the Office of Activities and Engagement. And we're very excited because Ariel is passionate about creating inclusive communities and supporting our faculty, our students and staff, and promoting and embracing diversity in all forms. Thanks for joining us, Ariel.
President Klippenstein.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's my pleasure to introduce our new Dean of Student Engagement and Auxiliary Services to the MCC family. Mr. Richard DeShields hails from Central Washington University. He's also spent time in Georgia, in Arkansas, and in Texas. It's a great pleasure to have Richard on our team. He's a great advocate for students. Student engagement, student inclusivity, diversity, and just overall student success. So, Mr. Richard DeShields.
Welcome. Chancellor Edelman.
Mr. Commissioner, Regents, good morning. I have the privilege to introduce our new provost, Dr. Melinda Arnold. Where'd she go? Stand up. Dr. Arnold comes to us from a large pool of qualified applicants. She has a master's degree from Northwestern, a PhD from Rutgers. She puts students first, and she has the ability and the experience to work with pathways to completion and also student retention as well. So I'm sure she'll help us increase our retention and recruitment efforts and also align all of our programs. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other announcements, introductions? Seeing none, Madam Chair, I believe this concludes our report. I appreciate a chance to update us all on what's going on around the system.
Thank you, Commissioner. At this moment, I would like to turn the floor over to Siri Smiley, who is here. I'm muted. It's not the first time. On behalf of the Governor's Office, welcome, Siri. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. Whoops. Nope. How about now? Still. Now? Nope. Do you want me to go to the... How about that one? There we go. Thank you, Chair Albrecht, members of the board and Commissioner. It's great to be with you here in Missoula on the campus of my alma mater. So thanks for the great welcome and update, President Bonner. It's exciting to hear about the really positive and exciting things happening on campus. And just to be here at this point in time. So thank you for having us. I want to start by giving a brief update about the Governor's Future Ready Cabinet that I think Lieutenant Governor Cooney talked about at the September meeting. The cabinet, which includes Superintendent Arntzen and Commissioner Christian, as well as the Department of Labor, Department of Commerce, Office of Economic Development, Military Affairs, Department of Health and Human Services. And the purpose is really to revisit our state education and workforce goals and help to coordinate all of the education and workforce initiatives, really to ensure that all Montana residents are prepared for the jobs of today and of the future, and that Montana employers can fill their workforce needs. And so the cabinet is working to provide recommendations to the governor to update Montana's attainment goal. And as this board is well familiar with, in 2013, Governor Bullock set an post-secondary attainment goal of 60% by 2025. And so looking at that goal and really drilling down, what does 60% attainment mean? I think as Deputy Commissioner Trevor was just explaining, we know how critical post-secondary education is to both individuals and their own economic futures and to the economic future of our state. And so really looking closely at, again, what does that mean? What's the right mix of credentials in 60%? So how many, how many 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees, high-quality certificates, apprenticeships, and how do each of us play a role in getting to those goals, including demonstrating to high school students all of those different pathways and giving them the tools to make sure they're ready to choose that pathway, either at the point of high school graduation or sooner. And so the other piece certainly is not just setting that goal, but then looking across state agencies and institutions and setting those strategies to ensure that we can get there. So that includes things like dual enrollment, like the Resident Student Success Initiative, re-engaging the tens of thousands of students or Montanans across the state that have some college credits but no degree. And so it's been a really exciting process. The cabinet will be meeting again December 4th, and we'll continue to meet through May to ultimately make a recommendation at the end of May to the governor about those goals and strategies. And so we'll keep this board updated about what that looks like. but we're really excited, the governor's really excited to be able to drill down into this topic. And on a related note, of course, one of the key strategies within that framework and over the last few years for the governor's administration has been apprenticeship. And this week is actually Apprenticeship Week, National Apprenticeship Week. So our annual Apprenticeship Works report was just released yesterday. I meant to bring copies and then I forgot them at the front desk. So it is available online on the Department of Labor's website, and I would encourage you all to take a look. President Bodnar mentioned Missoula College's leadership in expanding apprenticeships and really developing that model of apprenticeship that's integrated with post-secondary courses and credentials. And certainly Dr. Kirk Lacey was instrumental in that in his previous role with the university system and Department of Labor. And so the expansion of apprenticeship really, in a lot of ways, I think is thanks to the work of the university system and particularly our two-year colleges that have jumped in with 2 feet to make that happen. I'll give you just a few exciting stats from that report. In 2017, there were 687 new apprenticeships compared to 324 in 2012, so that's almost double the number of new apprenticeships. And certified nursing assistant is the fastest growing new program. So we had 2 in 2015. Those were our very first certified nursing assistant apprentices, and there were 120 active apprentices last year training to be CNAs. So that's a really exciting advancement, again, really driven by certainly the Healthcare Montana grant and the university system. So thank you for that. So it's an exciting opportunity, I think, and particularly the partnership between Department of Labor and the university system and the role that's played. And then certainly I can never let an opportunity go by without talking about preschool. So I want to do a quick update about that. So the STARS preschool pilot, which the legislature funded in 2017 as a 2-year sort of proof of concept of deploying preschool across rural and urban communities all around the state. We just wrapped up published the evaluation of year 1, so that ran the last school year. Over 300 children participated, with about that many on waiting lists for the programs that were serving those kiddos, so a huge demand for the program. And it was across multiple delivery models, public schools, Head Start programs, and high-quality center-based community programs, and actually one family group home program. And what we saw was across all those delivery models, across rural and urban communities, the growth of the students over the year developmentally was huge, and 93% of them, when they left the program at the end of the year, were considered ready for kindergarten. So really exciting results in the data that we saw. And I think one of the most exciting pieces was that while all children saw progress over the year, it really was the children who had identified needs, either special education needs or came from a low-income family, were English language learners, that demonstrated more progress over the year. So they were able to close the gap with their peers. So that was really exciting. It mirrors the national research, and so we're very excited about the possibility of being able to expand that program and continue to grow that. If you're interested, the full evaluation, which is really exciting and also talks a little bit about the teacher education piece of it, many of the programs used part of their grant funds for the teachers to either go back to school, get their P3 endorsement, get a bachelor's degree. So that's another exciting aspect of the program. And the full evaluation, if you're interested, is at starspreschool.mt.gov. It's very positive. And so with that, I think that concludes my report for now.
Thank you, Sari.
Thanks.
we're very excited about the impact that these initiatives are going to have throughout, again, which is a perfect segue into the work that's being done at Superintendent Arnson's level. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair, as well as board members and Commissioner. Can you hear me? Excellent. We appreciate that. And I also want to extend to the President, thank you. It's good to come home here to Missoula. It's where I lived in married student housing. We're talking about other things and discussing mother-in-law jokes and all kinds of things, but it's a good reflection back. So it's good to be here. But I am wearing my blue colors today, President Quezado. So we're kind of in that marriage here of best of both worlds, best of both. And again, thank you to everyone here that does support the university system, but also supports our very youngest, our very most treasured that are in our public schools across our state. So our first discussion is on school safety. I have to start that every time. It's in tugging our hearts, making sure that our students, when they are embraced by our teachers across our state, that they are safe, that their families know that students are first, and that safety is entrusted in that pass-off at the bus stop when that young student gets out of the car or our dear high schoolers drive themselves to school. School safety. First piece of legislation that I am promoting is the Student Safety Accountability Act. It has two parts in it, and it's challenging because it's not in Title 20, which reports everything in law regarding schools. It will be in Title 45, which says that the age of consent will be determined at a student, not at an age. Right now, the age of consent is 16. So if we have a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old in school, law does not support. So we're going to strengthen that. And that's a hard discussion to have at this point, but every student matters. The other part of that is professional development for teachers. We don't teach at the university system school safety. There are many other pedagogical things that are going on to ensure that instruction happens. So professional development, when they come from you into that classroom, is important. I am asking the legislature for another professional development day. Currently, we have 7. I know local control is it's our motto in Montana. And to make sure that we don't challenge that, making sure that school safety should be a priority, and I use that word should, very challenging. So we're looking to see what is the best pathway of offering that and honoring local control, but making sure that teachers who are teaching in our classroom have that opportunity in a community look, in a district look, in a school look, and in a classroom look, putting students first. Coming back to strengthening our partnership, I'm very excited about what we can do with this, rebranding what an assessment is, not just with a test coordinator and that student, but making sure that parents understand that the continuation of the investment in K-12 education is unlimited. And that's what this partnership is. So messaging around what we do is in its infancy, but we are going to go forward in that. Regent Lozar, we discussed about sharing assets at a coffee one day, and I mentioned that at a board meeting. I'm ready and have been ready, and I do believe this is the pathway for a portal between both worlds so that we can capture the university, that we can capture those students in engagement. I think this is the vehicle that we've been looking for. So with your leadership going forward, help me in that discussion. So I also wanted to say that we have within our other legislative priorities, we are looking at promises, and promises is probably one of the things that you remember when you made that pinky promise, or you made that promise to whomever, whatever contractual or just by saying it. So legislative-wise, my budget proposal is saying that legislature, if you promised in statute to give monies to public education, that promise means something, not to us as policymakers or those that embrace those laws and guide that money, but it needs to be directed to that student. Promises to students. 22 million plus was not given to students in K-12 education with the actions of the legislature, special session and regular session. I was one of them for 12 years. I understand budget. I understand challenges of funding, not just our most precious of our students, but everything that the state supports. But I was not at that microphone saying, take the money. So now the promises of having that money restored, and it's not the money, it's what the opportunity of the money can give. That is my number one legislative discussion on budget. Restore. So I'm putting believability. There's been multiple conversations with legislators, policymakers on the campaign trail, as well as those that are now going to be seated on January 7th. That budget restoration must happen. A promise is a promise. I am asking a very realistic increase for our most needy population in our K-12 world for special education. Most realistic. When we had triggers that said that our economies was doing well, triggers came back to the agency. And rather than building agency, I gave back to schools. I gave $500,000 back to our career technical. I couldn't give it back the same way it was taken. I gave it back per student across our state. And it's precious dollars, and it's not ample enough. But part of that restoration is for career technical education. So students have an opportunity and a pathway in 2-year, beyond, for community and career. The other thing that I gave back was a $250,000 to our special ed co-ops who are not funded through policy from the legislature. These are our most rural, where it's a cooperative of districts that get together because we have a shortage of specialists that serve our most needy. I am hoping that the realistic proposal of increase from the legislature will support our most needy in our rural, so that all means all, and opportunity of all is also given there. One of the things that I am a purveyor of is understanding that the federal government is my compliant officer. So I mentioned when we were discussing test security and how the federal government is saying that I must do this, came through multiple ways, not just through one action of the Every Student Succeed Act that replaces No Child Left Behind, but also on an audit of our Title I monies. In other words, saying, Montana, do this, or I don't want to be pushed against a wall. I support our students. I support our system. But as I said earlier, we can always do better. So understanding where we are in compliance with the federal government, we have to make sure that what is promised to us with monies, there are strings attached. So the report card, something Montana's never done before. We are displaying transparently, and it'll happen early spring. There will be accountability measures from every school district, 831 of them, schools, 400 school districts, our state report card we have had to rank on accountability measures of student performance every single school. Very challenging. Montana has never been asked to do that before or required to do that. We've had multiple stakeholder meetings, had multiple discussions with families, and we are standing strong to saying we are ready. You will be seeing some of this. We will deploy this to you at your next Board of Regents meeting. And I'm excited to say that this is not shaming Montana schools. This is putting this to student growth. This is following student. One other interesting component that is a requirement of this accountability is I must report the money flow to a student. Federal, state, and local dollar that supports a school. That has been delayed 1 year. So we are doing a lot of discussion in communities of what does that mean. But more importantly, when data is gathered and data is reported, what happens with that? So I'm cautiously sharing with you that we are in that process. But it is something that's never happened in our world before. Again, accountability from compliance, and Montana will answer that call. Be patient with us. Teacher of the Year. On a very positive, excited note, thank you. On the 50-yard line this Saturday, we have Mr. Dylan Huskin, a middle school teacher from Bonner, will be honored on the 50-yard line. How exciting for Montana to have the best of the best being in the running for the National Teacher of the Year. I'm very excited. As a teacher of 23 years, my dad, an American history teacher, my mom, a special ed teacher, wow, for us to be able to put this forward and honor who delivers that special education, that robust education, that passion to our students. Mr. Dylan Huskin. I can only honor him, but honoring all as well. So he is now Montana's Teacher of the Year, and I can say we're getting ready for the next one. We're doing this on a regional rollout in all of across Montana, no matter where you might be geographically. We're putting a cultural Teacher of the Year up in the running for this as well. So it's a broad spectrum and a reflection of who is teaching our children and honoring that excellence, seeking innovation, asking for a pathway on how they can, with a legacy of alumni, put forward best practices for our students. So as we reflect, I'm going to give you some homework because I'm reflecting right now. I have an economic degree from the University of Montana and my education degree from MSU. Let's reflect on where we came from. Let's honor that past, but we have to encourage where we're going to go. Thanksgiving is around the corner. Let's give thanks to where we've come from. But we have so many blessings ahead of us. We must ensure that we're open and that we're very willing to embrace those. Who we're teaching right now is the future. We can never, ever forget that. I am honored to be part of this table. My mother told me early on, you can't make change unless you show up. You have a promise from me to show up at meetings, to pick up phone calls, to engage in conversations, because you have the same. I've heard it. You're putting students first. Doesn't matter where they are, where they're going to go, but honoring our Montana students. Thank you very much. I appreciate being able to speak. And blessings as we all journey back home. and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Superintendent Arntzen, and thank you for your impassionate commitment to our students across the state of Montana. Before we take a break, and I certainly want to be respectful of our upcoming speakers who have taken the time out of their schedule to come and for our panel, I would like to turn it over to Commissioner Christian, who has a short announcement. Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd actually like Policy Advisor Siri Smiley to start. We'll have more to say about this as the day rolls on, but there's budget talks underway, and I'd like Siri to make a few comments, and then I'd like to come back and share a few. And we will be brief because I know people like and need their breaks.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner Christian and Chair Albrecht, for this brief announcement. So as we speak, Governor Bullock is announcing his governor's budget proposal to the legislature, and didn't want to entirely scoop him, so we had to wait until a little after 10 o'clock to do this. But I just want to give a high-level overview of what's in there, and then turn it over to the commissioner. From an overall perspective, the governor is operating under 3 principles for this budget, and that is that the state should have a $300 million reserve on June 30th of 2021, that the budget should be structurally balanced, so not spending more than we take in, and that we should make fiscally prudent and sustainable investments to benefit Montanans for generations, including those in infrastructure and education. And so part of the budget will be a $150 million infrastructure bonding bill that does include priorities of this board, including Romney Hall, the dental lab at Great Falls College, MSU, and egg experiment stations, as well as the Montana Historical Society, and broadband opportunities for broadband construction. Certainly, Medicaid expansion is a priority in the budget, and will be in there. And then investments in education, which are pretty exciting. So I mentioned the STARS preschool pilot, and building on that, the governor's proposing $30 million over the biennium to go to preschool through both grants to Head Start and private providers, as well as to public schools through the funding formula. So that's an exciting investment. Professional development and training opportunities for computer science teachers to increase capacity and access for computer science education. Inflationary adjustments for K-12 funding and special ed. Funding for tribal colleges to support high-set test preparation courses. And funding the Quality Educator Loan Assistance Program to aid in recruitment and retention efforts for those hard-to-fill rural districts. That was one thing that was cut last session and is an important thing to put in. So at a high level, that's what you'll see in the governor's proposed budget. We're pretty excited about it. I'm actually going to turn it over to Commissioner Christian to talk about the higher ed portion, which I think with the help of the legislature would represent a truly historic investment in Montana's students and in our future, and it's very exciting.
Thank you, Siri. And yes, I am incredibly excited. You know, we spent the morning talking about resident student access initiative, and there's a lot of things we can do to make it easier for students to access and find success. But yet one of the greatest barriers remains the cost of an education. We've seen it time and time. It's been reported widely. Debt levels, I mean, you name it, the cost of education is one of the greatest obstacles around the country, and it certainly has been in most states around the country. That said, that hasn't really been the case in Montana. And regardless of your politics, if you're part of the MUS, you just simply have to understand this has been a governor that has been incredibly supportive of education at all levels. We talked whether that's pre-K or higher education. He believes in education. It certainly changed his life, and he believes that it will change the lives of others. He really, truly has done more than almost every governor in the country. We're one of only a few states that has made meaningful investments in higher education in the last decade. And I truly extend our thanks. He's done so in 2 of the 3 legislative bienniums that he was part of through buying down or backfilling what would be a tuition increase for students through what was then known as the College Affordability Plan. But it was meaningful state investment to stave off what would otherwise be meaningful tuition increases. And I am incredibly proud to announce that he intends to do that again in this 2019 session. And he's committing resources that we believe we need to meet our present law adjustments, and that will have a tremendous impact on students, not only today, not only their families, but generations to come, and Montana, the state of Montana to come. It truly is meaningful, and buying down tuition today holds tuitions at a lower base from here on out. And that is quite a commitment on his behalf. Of course, we need the support of the legislature to get where we need to go. But we've also found support in the legislature in those earlier sessions, and we believe we can make compelling arguments why we should support the governor's budget, and that will be our task for 90 days starting the 7th of January. But as a true believer, he's not only doing that, but he's not done there. Working with our foundations, and Chris Murray, Cindy Williams, I want to thank both of them that have invested a fair amount of time in this concept. He is going to build in another piece to pledge $5 million of need-based aid to match what foundations can raise in terms of need-based aid. So together, there could potentially be $10 million of need-based aid for students in Montana. That's students of need, and it will also be used to support adult learners returning to higher education, a group we talked about some at breakfast, and we've talked about a lot. Montana has 140,000 individuals with some college, no degree. We know we can improve their lives and those around them if we can bring them back and help them find that completion. And so that truly is quite a commitment. We worked with the Education Interim Committee over the summer, and we have some hopes that they will bring yet another piece to the table, but on its own, this potentially will be $10 million of need-based aid that would be monumental in Montana. And so I just want to say thank you to the governor's staff. We're pleased with, words are hard to find around how we feel about it. Honestly, it means so much to the institutions and the trust he places in them to provide high-quality education with the dollars that the state's willing to invest and he's willing to commit. And we'll work diligently to support this budget moving through the session, and we'll work even more diligently to make certain that our Montana students have the best, highest quality education we can possibly provide. So please extend our thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I think that this is an incredibly exciting announcement, and I think it deserves a round of applause. Wow. At this moment, I would like to call for a needed break, and I would just ask that we are respectful with time and we just take 10 minutes and return promptly so that we can begin our next panel at 10:32. Thank you very much.